And it's an Music Man! Well, some of you may be thinking I'm referring to the giant Music Man spider that we see in the trailers, and I'm assuming later on in Security Breach that is not the case. In fact, I'm referring to the normal Music Man animatronic that just appears to chase you when you enter most of the vents in the game. Or at least like the longer vents that are meant to be one way. Like the one to the security office in El Chips, or the one way down to the maintenance area on the bottom floor. Like the two ways that you start to leave the game. But when you first encounter him, the game makes you turn around to see him drop off the ceiling and seemingly come out of nowhere, and then he starts chasing you. And Music Man was already creepy enough just standing behind me, but in this rugged, broken state, he's even worse. And then you learn why he's there. In one of the duffel bags that reveal additional lore and references, you can find a security report from Vanessa saying that Music Man cases have been broken, but without any sign of a break-in, indicating that it was someone with security access, which I'm still sure at this point is her. But the fact that Vanny released them into the vents, it kinda makes it extra creepy. And at 9, have a map. After gaining access to the main atrium of the Pizzaplex, which could happen in like the first 45 minutes if you're not an idiot like me and aren't speedrunning, because then it happens in like the first 5 or something. The bot that offers you a map as soon as you get out is firstly not there originally, and it just appears and then jump scares you, and second can actively somehow pull you out of Freddy in order to give you the map. Like, I get it, it's an important part of the game, but come on. Plus, then after Freddy is taken, okay, another map bot shows up to give you an additional map for the security tunnels. But like, what the hell, man? That one came out of absolutely nowhere. Like, the first time Freddy kinda warns you about it, he's like, oh yeah, you can get a map on the second floor. But this time, it's completely uncalled for, and it's actually terrifying, since it's very similar to the jump scare that causes us all to panic, because then the animatronics start spawning behind us after we get caught by a security guard. So, yeah, if I could go back and do the new animatronics list, the staff bots would be at number 1, but particularly the map bot. And at 8, parts and service. The parts and service section of this game did give me slight trauma when I first played it because of parts and service when I played FNAF VR on the channel, since it said to remove Bonnie's left eye and I kept grabbing my left, not Bonnie's. But this time it's much easier, but it being easier doesn't mean I can get it first try, because I am incompetent. I had to try like 3 times because like the first time I clicked the wires and then it jump scared me. Then I did the wrong pattern because I was too focused on not clicking the wires, but I also have to admit the headless Freddy jump scare is probably one of the coolest ones in this game. Like, it's not scary because he doesn't have a head, but the actual situation is very intense, especially since we just learned that there is no record of us in the security database, which should be impossible, which leads me to believe that someone, Vanny, wiped us out so that we won't be missed, or that we're a robot crying child, but I still haven't finished the game yet, so I don't know. But to me, this was still a very intense moment, and then you gotta do it like 3 more times if you want to upgrade Freddy. And at 7, low power. With Freddy being our animatronic deterrent mech, it's pretty important that he keeps his charge so that when we need him, we can use him. However, one of the most shocking things is when he runs out of power. Earlier in that game, he is about to run out of power, or at least in my memory, he did run out of power, so he ejected us and then gets into a recharge station. This made me believe that if he runs out of power, he would just drop us on the floor. No, he doesn't. Learned that the hard way when I was glitched and stuck inside of him. So I let the power run out in the hopes that he would drop me, and then when he ran out, he just ripped me out of his stomach and killed me. Which makes me think that it's not his power that we're seeing being depleted, it's his integrity level that we watch go down, but oh well. This is certainly shocking if you don't know what's going to happen, like when Eddie VR on his second channel had the shocking wake-up call when looking at the map. He was just looking at the map, Freddy ran low on power, he ran out and then just pulled him out. He didn't get a low power warning because he was in the map. This was also the same video when he told Freddy that he better not betray him, making things oh so much worse. And at 6, Vanny's room. Now, the path I've taken in my first and current playthrough of Security Breach, since they're both the same playthrough, is going to Phaser Blast or Phaser Quest or whatever the laser tag one is, because I wanted to play laser tag. Also, it totally happened and I flipped out. It was amazing. But on laser tag, or I guess like at the end of laser tag, you can find a secret area through a vent that you have to go back through so Music Man isn't there. But the room you end up finding actually has Vanny in it along with her name on the wall, and it also has a secret Princess Quest machine. At least this time, it's Princess Quest 3. If you don't know, Princess Quest is a minigame present in the mobile version of Help Wanted, which is the way Glitch Trap gets incorporated into the mobile port. However, there's no number, it's just like Princess Quest, so it's the first one. Now apparently there's 3 of them, plus, you know, if Vanny saw you, you'd be dead, which just adds to the kind of like scare factor. And what adds to the mystery is that you can find a lore bag in Bonnie Bowl that tells you about a Princess Quest 1 machine hidden somewhere in the building. I'm guessing like the actual Fazcade room. But since Princess Quest 1 and 3 are here, I'm assuming that there's also a Princess Quest 2, which I think reveals not only more lore, but potentially another ending. Since Vanny is sleeping next to one of the machines, it makes it seem kind of important. And the lore is the scariest thing out of everything in this series. Halfway through into number 5, Broken Freddy. Now, as if fixing Freddy wasn't enough, he also has to go through something that makes him need to be fixed, right? Well, yeah, that's how it works. And the first time you see Freddy laying down broken because he couldn't get to parts and service is so depressing and worrying that you might end up losing your animatronic repellent suit of mech armor. Unless you aren't sure if they're going to end up betraying you and end up not getting emotionally attached to Freddy. Wow, I sound like I have trust issues now. Maybe I should go to therapy. But like then again, like therapists are like the English teachers of the brain. They like try to find like hidden meanings in like everything, like the symbolism that like the author intended. Like no, like the reason you want to sleep in a blanket is because you want to be back in your mother's womb kind of analysis, and it's like no, because I need it to be the right temperature, bro. But honestly, after seeing Freddy like that, I maybe really do need therapy, but for that, not for anything else. The actual Broken Freddy moment is very sad, and then having to go out alone and face all these things without your boy is pretty damn terrifying. Especially because at this point, Vanny was introduced and used a couple times before you could actually get back into Freddy. Also, what happens like almost immediately after this is pretty horrifying. And at 4, Trash Compactor. Now after figuring out what I needed to do, destroying my main Chica was the first thing I did. I already blew her back out, so I might as well finish the job, right? Well, let me tell you that it was still a very intense scene. Firstly, I thought that you would have to actually like lure her into the trash compactor instead of just pushing a button when she's not close and starting a cutscene. So I was trying to actually like lure her into it after placing the Monty stuff because she wasn't trying to eat it. So I was like stunning her and like having her chase me, and that was terrifying doing that. But then the cutscene that plays when you actually stop being a moron is even scarier, since this is the scene that we had in the trailer where it looks like a giant pillar fell on her, but no, you're actually crushing her in a trash compactor. And you as like a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old or however the old Gregory is, are able to kick off her beak, and then she gets crushed again. But when she gets sucked into the actual like trash chute, she pulls you with her, which is really horrifying, especially for me, someone who's afraid of trash, which is why I don't watch. Yeah, I'm not gonna finish that sentence. That's currently where I ended my last stream, but the day before this goes live, I'm streaming FNAF again on my Twitch, so I guess I'll be past that when this comes out, but oh well. At this point, I don't know what happens after that, but I'm sure it will be even more terrifying. Getting close to the end into number 3, glitches. Now, at the time of scripting, I've played around 7 hours of this game. I've been uploading the videos on my personal channel. However, in that 3rd hour, I managed to break the game multiple times, and this was one of the scariest moments of the early game for me. So I'd like to share my experience with you because that was interesting. After finding El Chips, I come out and I call Freddy over. He runs over, but he's stuck on the other side of some barriers. I still don't know how he got there. He teleports behind me, but I'm still unable to get inside him. So I run a couple meters and I call him again, but that's when a second GLAMROCK Freddy shows up. So I got 2 Freddys. Okay, they're about to double team me, but I can't get in either of them. So I make my way to the vent system at the bottom of the map, and I go out that way instead of going through El Chips. I started getting chased by Music Man, and I slide down the fence, and then I get to the bottom and seemingly nothing loaded. Just a couple of like garage doors. So I get intrigued and start looking around, only for me to fall through the floor and then have the level load above me. So obviously, the next step is to jump out of the map and fall for a few seconds, but then I'm in a room with a whole bunch of colored doors. I thought it was a secret area, but then somehow I'm suddenly back behind the security desk of the daycare again. Yeah, I press the button to get out, the same scripted scene plays where I get kicked out and then all the animatronics are coming to gangbuster me. But this time, at least Freddy's working. So I go back into the vents and get out, but then Music Man starts chasing me again, but another Music Man is ahead of me in the vents from last time. I don't understand, but it was terrifying. Penultimately, in at number 2, daycare. Now, the daycare section of the game is certainly an interesting one, because this dude is all kinds of creepy in probably the worst ways possible. But that whole daycare sequence, in my opinion, is one of the scariest sections of the game, or at least that I've experienced so far. The lights being completely out and the desperate need to turn them back on is surely something that I don't want to relive. Like, it's so creepy, and I don't know how else to describe it. It's absolute pure terror. The fact that this is a children's caretaker that is literally killing me because I'm up past my bedtime is one of the most horrific concepts I think I've seen, like, in practice. Like, who the absolute living hell thought this would be a good idea? And not only that, but also, like, it's like in the first part of the game. This is before you even get to the main atrium of the Pizzaplex. Plus, there's like a flashlight battery upgrade that you can get that I totally missed because it's in like some hidden area at the back, and I'm still mad mad about that. I don't really use my flashlight anyway, and I recharge it basically every time I can. But this guy is like the next Afton, okay? He's hella creepy, and he legit reminds me of my uncle. And finally, in at number 1, endos. Now this is some horrifying. The endo section of Security Breach before you can enter parts and service is so goddamn freaky. I don't know how it's possible. I'm glad that like I don't have like a fear of robots, otherwise this would have had me shivering under my desk. Having animatronics chase you is one thing, okay? Having bare endoskeletons chasing you with no casing on them that just move when you don't look at them like FNAF weeping angels is some of the most nightmare-inducing shit I have seen since FNAF 4. And yes, that's a joke because FNAF 4 is all about a nightmare, but still. They only move when you don't look at them. Plus, when you get the security upgrade that you're supposed to get so you can get into the parts and service area, you turn on like 10 additional endos at once who end up chasing you until you can get somewhere safe. Like you can hide and they will eventually leave, but anyone who's robophobic is going to absolutely despise and loathe this section. I'm only arachnophobic and I still hated that. So, good luck.
Number 10, vents. In general, the vents are just a scary place in pretty much any Freddy's world, or just in general. No one wants to climb an event. Not just because of the Music Man either in this game. The fact that one of the first things you have to do in Security Breach involves you crawling through a vent just immediately made me think, no, I do not want to go in that vent. But of course, much of this game requires you to crawl around in vents, because FNAF. And then there is Music Man in there, and then some vents are particularly creepier than others as well. So all around just lots of vents, none of them really a good time, as all of them help to trigger the PTSD that we all got from the vents in Sister Location. Number 9, laundry. The laundry area of the map is probably one of the most nerve-wracking areas. There are just so many bots around and so many opportunities for everything to go wrong, and for you to just be caught and be completely jump scared. Getting through the laundry area can also be tricky as the exit is located between the laundry machines, as Markiplier learned during his first playthrough, which is pretty hilarious. He ended up actually being stuck in that area of the game for apparently more than 40 minutes looking for the exit. He retraced his steps and he tried everything until he kinda stumbled upon the exit while like intensely combing the area and falling into it just kinda by accident. And I cannot lie, if he hadn't been the one to get stuck there for so long and I hadn't been watching his playthrough first, I likely would have also had a similar problem, because yeah, it's kind of hard to see. So don't worry Mark, you're not the only dum-dum out there, I'm right there with you. Put a dunce cap on me, I'm also a big dum-dum apparently. Also that type of thing in a game happens to me all the time, and I'm like, what do I do here? What is the... Also controls in games. Well, just if I'm not playing with a controller. I like controllers. I don't like keyboards, unless it's League. Alright friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want to hear about even more scary moments from this game, goodness knows there are a lot more for us to talk about. Be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8, GLAMROCK Freddy. So on the part 1 for this list, Connor did talk about the low power GLAMROCK Freddy jump scare, which is pretty scary, but I'm talking more about GLAMROCK Freddy just in general as a character. I have like a love-hate relationship with him, and like Connor was also saying, some trust issues to deal with as well. Although I think mine have solely come from Sister Location and Pizzeria Simulator. I can narrow it down to those games, and our experiences within those games. I'm just saying in FNAF, you shouldn't trust anybody, okay? People say they're your friend and then they scoop you and wear you like a skin suit, you know? So needless to say, there are a lot of moments where I both want to protect and be friends with Freddy, and then there's lots of moments where like I'm literally terrified because I'm certain at any moment he's probably gonna kill me. I'm like, you gonna kill me, Freddy? Do you love me or are you gonna kill me? What's going on? And not just in the parts and service section either. Just watching him stare at me in elevators or constantly wave at me from afar or continuously open up his chest cavity offering for me to hop inside. Yeah, I mean, even knowing he's definitely a good guy at this point, I'm still suspicious. I'm like, maybe I don't want to get in your chest cavity right now, Freddy. Why do you want me to get in there? You gonna kill me? What's going on? Talk to me, man. Number 7, the wet floor signs. This is probably one of the first jump scares I experienced in Security Breach. I love how both adorable and terrifying these wet floor signs seem to be, all at once. I love the horrifying sound that you get when you encounter one, their design, the way they follow you with their eyes, their lights. their eye lights. They're really just lights, but they look like eyes. Also, honestly, they remind me of Mickey Mouse in a way with their I think they're speakers that are on top of their head. I just love how they zero in on you in a creepy way, like they're watching you for some kind of sinister purpose. Why are you watching me? Also, is it ever really wet where the floor signs are? I'm just wondering. I love that they're everywhere, but we've never seemed to slip once in this game. I guess while creeping us out, they also just make us super cautious and aware as Gregory. So good job, I guess, wet floor signs. None of us are slipping. Or they're just around to watch us and no floors are wet. It's all a conspiracy. Number 6, getting lost. So I'm a big believer that Security Breach and the Mega Pizzaplex were both made to be so large and kind of maze-like on purpose. On purpose for creeping us out and frustrating us. There are tons of places for you to explore and tons of opportunities for you to get lost in this game and get turned around. Also, the directives and even maps you are given are sometimes, not quite as specific or thorough as you need them to be. Why are these maps so small, by the way? They're so small, and I'm I don't even know what that is. Which leaves you plenty of opportunity to make missteps. In getting confused or lost, the game is thereby only adding to your discomfort and your sense of frustration at times, which I think is actually intentional, because it kind of is weirdly perfect for a horror game to do, as it puts you in a more easier to scare sort of mental state. Also, whenever you get lost, there is a sense of timelessness and eternity that permeates, especially for a game where after 6 we can leave. You begin to ask yourself, will I ever get out of here? Will it be 3:30 for all of time, for all of eternity? Will I ever be able to figure out what comes next after this part of the game? What am I doing right now? What's going on? What day is it? Who am I? Am I Gregory? Am I alive? I don't know. I get very existential with the Security Breach, obviously. Number 5, animatronic teleportation. Sometimes these animatronics seem kinda slow when you watch them move about, but then can also spring towards you quite suddenly. And at times, if you turn your back on them, it kind of feels like they could maybe teleport, or at least spawn to a place in-game that allows them to appear right behind you. That's how it feels anyways. It's pretty freaky how you can think you're getting away only to turn around and see Chica right behind you, ready to jump scare you. I also find it disturbing when you think you've hidden soon enough, but it turns out you're wrong and then you just get pulled out of your hiding spot and jump scared. The way animatronics can sometimes just appear seemingly out of thin air, it's pretty freaky. I don't know if it's the legit thing, but it feels like a thing. I feel like they can teleport. Number 4, laundry cart. Speaking of times when the animatronics randomly pop up and are terrifying, how about when you're hiding in a laundry cart? For some reason, laundry carts are some of the most terrifying hiding spots for me in this game. I think it has to do with the fact that although you're perfectly hidden from the sides, anyone walking past who is tall enough to just peer in and see you could catch you. Yeah, I guess they're uncovered, so I don't like that they're uncovered, but that your view outward other than looking up is severely limited. I don't like when I feel at least when you're in the photo booth there's a curtain and you're I can't see them and they can't see me, but with that opening, they can see you. So if you miss time jumping out of one, you could just walk into a cleaner or security bot or right into one of the animatronics. Oddly enough, I do like laundry in real life alright, but I do not like laundry carts in Security Breach. I feel like I'm just sitting in a cart waiting to die. This isn't safe. Also, I know that if I were walking past a laundry cart, I could see me in there, so feels not good. Number 3, control room. The whole control room segment is pretty terrifying, especially as it feels a lot like classic Five Nights at Freddy's, which we already know is terrifying because we've experienced it. During this segment of the game, you end up triggering an alarm which alerts Montgomery Gator and Roxanne Wolf to your presence and sees them try to enter the control room backstage to get you as Gregory. The really scary part is that this time around, doors are not actually enough to protect you, as Roxy and Monty can basically just open the doors. Instead, you have to shock the doors as they try to get to them by keeping an eye on the security cameras to know when they're there and then running over to the door to electrify it by pressing a button and preventing them thereby from entering. The whole thing gives me the feels of classic Freddy's games with a little mix of sister location as well, with the shocking and the buttons. While this is all going on, you need to keep an eye and an ear out for Freddy, who also needs help getting to you. When he appears on a monitor, you have to hit his corresponding button to help open the doors for him so he can come rescue you before time runs out. Number 2, red light, green light. Connor talked about the endos in general on part 1 of this list, but I want to talk about the actual act of playing red light, green light with the endos. And in general, one of the most terrifying things for me playing this game has to be that whole red light, green light section that you play with the endoskeletons, which also are maybe like medical endoskeletons. I didn't get a deep look at like all those posters that are on the doors, but they're all really creepy. And on one, it seems like the robot pals can also maybe give you first aid or kill you, I guess. I don't know, are they running towards us to try to give us first aid, but it just goes awry and that's why we get jump scared? Depending on the mode they're set to, I guess maybe they can do many things, who knows? I'm not gonna limit these endos, I'm not gonna put them in a box. Not only is the actual red light green light game nerve-wracking because these endos move really quiet and quick like if you turn your back, but also this whole area of the game is just creepy as all heck. Also, red light green light is just a scary game, hence why it's probably one of the main and first games that we're exposed to in Squid Game. Also, if you didn't think it was scary before, after Squid Game, you definitely would not like red light green light. And then you have to play it in Security Breach after Squid Game just like happened. No thank you, I'm good. Number 1, Sleepy Time Candy. So this straight up freaked me out. Like, even just the concept of Sleepy Time Candy has to be one of the most haunting parts of this entire game. At the moment I saw an advertisement for this, it stayed with me forever. We are talking about Moondrop's Sleepy Time Candy. What exactly is Sleepy Time Candy? Like, it actually sounds like you're drugging people. Those groups of people likely include children because this is FNAF and this is the Mega Pizzaplex. Now granted, I do sometimes myself use Sleepy Time tea, which like anyone can drink, which just helps me relax and helps me get to sleep, and it's all herbal, so it could be, kind of like that. Or it could just be lavender flavored candies or something weird. But the fact that Moondrop is associated with it automatically makes it 1,000 times more disturbing. Although, as I said, the idea of it is already creepily problematic. What is Sleepy Time Candy? Is it normal candy? Is it normal? Does it do something to you? I don't know, I'm so curious about it.
And at number 10, in-universe games. The knowledge that Scott Cawthon's in-universe counterpart has made games about the Fazbear restaurants in the FNAF universe has been driving us, or more particularly me, crazy ever since we learned about it in Help Wanted. Literally Help Wanted's opening scene. What games are the ones he made? Were they the original FNAF games? Does anything we've done up until this point in the games actually matter? Well, it seems like Security Breach might have actually at least kind of explained it with a single machine known as Mangle's Quest, which, if you don't remember, is one of the mini games that you had to play in order to unlock the good ending of FNAF 3 and the Happiest Day minigame. I guess technically though that has even more implications. If to release the souls of children we had to actually like glitch out an actual game, but that's a discussion for another day. I'm not talking about that now. And at 9, toy animatronics. Has Security Breach actually wrapped up the story of the toy animatronics? It's possible. I mean, this idea has been out there for a while, really ever since GLAMROCK Chica was revealed. But could the toy animatronics actually have been reused or repurposed into the GLAMROCK animatronics, or at least parts of them being used? And actually it would make sense, considering how these animatronics seem to also have like a security database. Oh my god, wait, no, they actually do have a security database. Freddy straight up pulls Gregory out of his stomach and then like looks at him and says, I cannot locate you, there's no profile for you. So yeah, they have a security database. They don't like seem to have one, they actually have one. Just like the toys from FNAF 2. They would scan a criminal database to see if anyone was willing to commit murders. But with facial recognition and conveniently the same glitches that allowed them to misidentify William, allowing them to not identify Vanny, since Freddy is unable to see Vanny without Roxy's eyes. Which begs the question, could the other animatronics see her? Or like, is it just Roxy? And if the last versions of the toy animatronics were so terrible at their job, because I mean, like, at this point they know they were, and I guess like maybe they were like, oh yeah, no, it's because William programmed them, so that's why they were terrible. But like, still, why would you reuse that? Why would you risk it again? That seems like a absolutely abysmal idea. And at 8, alligator mask. Now, my original idea was that the man in room 1280 took place after FNAF 6's fire, and that's how William became Glitch Trap. However, it's seeming more and more that the man in room 1280 actually takes place after security breach. After all, I mean, like, it would explain why the one you should not have killed is wearing an alligator mask, since it would be Monty if this does take place after, since there wasn't really an alligator animatronic beforehand, and there's no way that an alligator mask is Happy Frog, okay? Just saying. And considering how Freddy runs off with Gregory at the end of the game, Monty would be left to run the show. I mean, we actually like see this happen in a newspaper article at the end of the good ending. The one where you go through the loading dock that required level 7 clearance, and you just like Gregory somehow drives a van with Freddy and then uses the battery to jumpstart Freddy. Yeah, that ending, we see that since Freddy's gone, Monty ends up running the show. And Vanessa even uses this as a threat to try to convince Freddy to give us up when he's in parts in service. You know, when his like head is disconnected and we have to reconnect it. So a kid wearing a Monty mask after the canon ending of Security Breach would explain a lot. It would make a lot of sense. It would also explain the reason why Afton's body isn't burnt horrifically like it's supposed to be in the Man in Room 1280 in FNAF 9, because like that he hasn't done that yet. I mean, it also explains why it's called Burntrap. At least we know he didn't escape the FNAF 6 pizzeria like everyone thought he had though, right? And at 7, Ultimate Custom Night. Ultimate Custom Night was actually a pretty dividing point among FNAF fans and theorists alike. Some thought that it was Afton in hell, others thought that it was a coma, but we now have a definitive answer. Assuming it does take place between Security Breach and FNAF 6, as the release of the games would indicate, it would actually mean that Ultimate Custom Night is what Burntrap is seeing while unconscious in the recharge station. Perhaps it's him keeping himself from dying in the recharge station, like a mind kind of fight thing, like whenever a main character dies in a show and they have to fight back to get to their body. Yeah, that kind of thing. And we don't actually see him wake up until he beats 50-20 mode, and then he comes after us like we see in the true ending to the game. So basically, we get down there, and as soon as we activate it, he beats 50-20 mode. This actually makes sense given that Scrap Trap is in Ultimate Custom Night, since this would sort of be like a nightmare sequence with Scrap Trap serving as what William is dealing with in these moments, or I guess his misdeeds, or his wickedness made of flesh, as Nightmare puts it. But you know, the whole aftermath of the FNAF 6 fire, and then returning to that Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, either because of like Charlotte being there and he wanted to kill her, or maybe just some other thing that Henry had to do to actually lure Afton back. We don't actually know what that was, but either way, he had to deal with it, and it makes sense as to why now. And it's 6, Brothers. Now this is something that Matt Pat actually talked about in his recent FNAF Theory video that went out on January 1st, 2022. However, this is something I have been calling for ages. Ever since we learned Gregory's name, ever since that Funko statue was leaked, I have been saying that their relationship is very brotherly. It was awfully similar to Michael and the crying child. Especially when the older brother is represented by, or maybe even now possessing, the GLAMROCK Freddy animatronic, when it was a version of a Freddy animatronic that killed his little brother in the first place. And before you get all mad at me saying, oh no, that was Fredbear. Fredbear is a version of Freddy, okay? Go away. Fredbear is literally a version of Freddy. Back off. The fact that this is so solid after the game comes out, it kind of explains that what happened actually did happen. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And that now we're trying to make up for it, to reconcile. And if Gregory ends up actually being a robot crying child, you all owe me a coffee. Because I've been calling that one for ages too. I have been saying that for so long, and so many people got mad at me. But look at this, Matt Pat says it, and I saw no hate comments on the top, at the top comments, okay, on that video. I saw no hate. Halfway through into number 5, the FNAF 6 Fire. FNAF 6 acted as the narrative ending for many animatronics. The fun times in Molten Freddy, the puppet inside of Lefty, Scrap Baby, and even us as Michael Afton. But the secret true ending to this game actually shows us the aftermath of this fire. We see the aftermath of FNAF 3's Fire in Sister Location's final cutscene, with Springtrap popping out of the ruins of Fazbear Fright, and this time around we learn about the third last game's fire in this ending. Since, as Matt Pat pointed out in his recent theory, as well as many people have pointed out in the comments of various videos and Reddit posts, the pizzeria you're in for this secret ending looks a hell of a lot like the one that we make, or like the base for the one we make in Pizzeria Simulator. And since it burns down, basically it doesn't matter which one you made, this is what it would burn down to. Which honestly explains why William was in the recharge station, okay? They didn't actually have to move his body. Which actually, it makes sense. Finally, something in this godforsaken series makes sense. Something makes sense in a FNAF game, praise the Lord. But this also means that he hasn't been taken to the hospital yet for the man in room 1280 to occur. This idea that this is the FNAF 6 pizzeria also ends up solidifying when you see that the blob is like the new Ennard, with all of the different animatronics from FNAF 6 present when you actually like take a look closer and even like clip inside of it. There's a video for it. Many people have done this on YouTube, but you can like see the Scrap Baby mask, you can see the puppet's mask. Yeah, combine this with, you know, the fact that Springtrap is here, or I guess Burntrap or Scrap Trap, whatever, okay? The fact that William in some form of animatronic Golden Bunny is here, and you get an explanation for what happened after the FNAF 6 fire. In at 4, Princess Quest. The inclusion of Princess Quest in the Help Wanted mobile port is a pretty little minigame added since they couldn't really include the full glitch trap and 16 tapes thing in a phone game. So they added Princess Quest's 16 braziers, and then they all came together to form a form of glitch trap at the end. This seemed like a simple way to include everything when it first came out, but now we have a whole new lease on this idea. Since, with Security Breach, the way to get the best ending, even though it's not canon, is through these Princess Quest arcade machines. But they've been ported from a mobile game into arcade cabinets. We learn this in one of the various lore duffel bags that we can find throughout the game. One in Bonnie Bowl says that they ported Princess Quest 1 from an old mobile game. Why port to arcade? It's a very good question, but these Princess Quest games are really what's holding Vanessa back from reclaiming her body, which we see happen in the best ending, hence why it's the best ending. Getting close to the end in number 3, Spirits. One of the major issues with FNAF for some is the inconsistency of the whole spirits are real, but they aren't the ones doing the actual possession thing. Since in FNAF 3's minigames we see the physical spirits of the original 5 missing children, and then in Fazbear Fright, we learn that agony and emotions are what actually cause possession in this world. So how could there be those actual physical spirits if it was just their emotions causing the suits to move? And while originally we might have just chalked it up to maybe there being other emotions or even just like William hallucinating, with Security Breach and specifically the rooftop ending, I think we have a better idea. Since in the rooftop ending we end up seeing Vanny dead on the ground, and then we unmask her and it reveals Vanessa. And then a couple seconds later we see Vanessa looking down at her body on top of the building, just watching herself. Yeah, that's definitely not a problem at all. Thanks, Scott. This could mean, though, that there are only spirits when the person regrets what they've done. Since the kids in the original suits terrorized so many others, maybe they ended up actually feeling bad about it, even though they couldn't really control it because it was their emotions controlling the suits. But maybe they still felt bad about what was going on, and then that's why they had spirits. Regret. It's a powerful thing. And ultimately, in at number 2, the Blob. Okay, so what I'm talking about here, as opposed to the FNAF 6 ending, which I mentioned before, is not what the blob is meant to do, but something else entirely. Here, I'm explaining that the blob in this game actually explains the blob of tentacle goo that comprises Baby, introduced in the final few Fazbear Frights books. This blob actually explains why that whole thing was introduced and explored and why it happened. Because it's setting up yet another f***ing antagonist for the future of the FNAF games. As long as the next owner of the IP wants to go in that direction, that is. Because now, they got 3. They can go with William, they can go with Vanny, or they can go with the Blob, or hell, they can go backwards and make an entirely new character for all we know. And even if they don't want to go that way, they can wrap up William's story first and then move on to someone else. Like, I mean, Scott and Steel Wool did leave a death animation for William unused in the files, and I doubt that it's going to be used for a potential DLC. Because first we need a few updates for the game. But there's no way that they wouldn't capitalize on an obscure ending like that for another game. Because like, there's no way that they would officially kill William off. I want it to happen, but it's not gonna happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Scott's like been working with the person taking over for the endings of this game to see which one fits where they want to go next the best. Hence why there are so many endings. Scott was like, okay, pick one. Actually, no, I doubt that. I feel like Scott was like, this is the true ending. You gotta work with this. But here are other ones to help guide you. And finally, into number 1, the Help Wanted ending. Now, while the whole glitch trap shouldn't be possible thing is a whole other can of worms that I'm not going to explore, I think that Security Breach, and more so the Princess Quest ending, perfectly explains the Help Wanted ending. You need to beat the first game, then you beat the second game, and then you choose the Vanny ending, and instead of pushing the button to disassemble Vanny, you play the third Princess Quest game. This results in the player actually saving Vanessa as long as you beat the third one, and then finding Vanny's mask on the floor. But how did that really save Vanessa, you ask? Well, actually, it's fairly simple. Help Wanted. If you've seen any of my videos where I discuss the endings of Help Wanted and how when we complete that puzzle in the final battle, we get locked behind a door, you'll know that I said that that's us being distracted so that William has an opportunity to actually shut us away in our own mind. So if we do the thing that we do to actually beat him when he's attacking us, we're just distracted enough so that he wins even more. And that he does. But this Princess Quest ending actually really proves me right. Since the end of Princess Quest 3, you open a giant door with a large keyhole surrounded by glitching cracks and purple stuff. And in Help Wanted, we get sealed behind a giant door with a large keyhole with cracks around it and even handprints on the inside. This with the obvious connection via Princess Quest to Help Wanted, because you know Princess Quest was the mobile version of the 16 tapes. This is us releasing the player from Help Wanted, who consequentially ends up being Vanessa from the wall that Afton set up, since after this door closes we see her mask on the floor, and even sit on a hill with Vanessa and Freddy's head, which is a whole other can of worms, which makes Matt Pat think that Gregory is crying child, Freddy is Mike, and that Vanessa is Elizabeth Afton, which we've been calling for months. I feel like we've been calling that for a year.